Now, I know you. Oh no. You're that secret agent. That English secret agent from England. Yes. And you're that American sheriff from America. Oh yeah! So you on another mission, boy? Yes. Ooh, who we after this time, boy? An assassin called Francisco Scaramanga. Ooh, an assassin! Well, let's go get him! Yeah, we'll teach that assassin what for. Which car's his? That brown one over there. Oh yes, that little pointed brown car. Oh, let's go get him, boy! Yeah! Well, you can tell why we didn't bring him back for a third film. Gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of The Man with the Golden Gun, the 9th James Bond film, and Roger Moore's second. And so, Golden Gun. I have to admit, this is one of my least favourites in the franchise, and certainly one of my least favourite Roger Moore's. First of all, I want to say that it starts out like a good concept. The story sounds like a good idea, and we actually get some fun stuff in the pre-titles, and some good plot ideas starting around, and it actually seems like it's getting on decent. Starts off pretty well, but I don't know, about half an hour in, I suppose, it starts to change. It starts to feel a bit odd. For starters, Roger Moore starts to act a bit more like Sean Connery, and Sean Connery, if he was in a bad mood, or just what I would say bad mood, or he was just lost all his charm if he wasn't being very nice. I know Connery, actually Connery could pull off being a bit of a brute and a bit nasty, but Roger Moore can't really do that. He's just, he's trying to do it, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't suit his Bond. He works better as the kinder, caring Bond we saw in Live and Let Die, or just how he was like in that film. We don't really see that here. He's trying to be like Connery, and it's not really working. I don't know why they decided to make him be a bit more like Sean Connery in this film. I don't know, maybe they thought his performance in Live and Let Die wasn't that great, despite it being popular. I don't know. For one reason or another, they just tried to make Roger Moore more like Sean Connery in this film, and Sean Connery, when he's being a brute in some cases, just being a bit unfair. They're being a bit unfair and unnice to quite a few people. He's unkind to Miss Anders. He's unkind to what's her name, Mary Goodnight. He's not very nice to that. He's mean to that kid on the boat. He throws him off after he helps him, and he's fun with Sheriff Pepper. I'll give it that. The best Sheriff Pepper coming back. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of Sheriff Pepper, but I will say the scenes with him and Roger Moore are fun scenes, despite that. But every other time when he's on screen, it's not that great. But when he's with Roger Moore, he's fun, and it's actually quite funny watching Sheriff Pepper trying to help be his helping Bond out. It's very funny. Minus some of the racial things the sheriff says. There's actually a bit of funniness in this film. This is a bit more of a comedic instalment to the more serious Live and Let Die or The Spy Who Loved Me. So, most of the time the comedy is good, but not always. The around the time Roger Moore starts acting a bit more like Sean Connery, that's where the story starts to go a bit downhill, and it starts to drag a little bit more. We're introduced to another main villain, a man with golden guns, Francisco Pistol Scaramanga, is the main baddie, but we've also introduced to High Fat, and there's this whole plot about the Solex agitator and the solar energy crisis, which makes a lot of sense later on. It makes sense later on why Scaramanga is involved in all of this. He explains his plan. It actually sounds like a decent plan, didn't it? Just before I rewatched it, I was like, what's his plan again? Why is he doing this? What's the point? But then, it actually makes sense. So he's got some good plan, and it makes sense. P.S. High Fat being the name of the guy, that's actually a bit racist. They're actually tiptoeing the slightly insensitive line pretty thinly in this film. Maybe more so than Live and Let Die. And that one had a mostly black cast of villains. But actually, I think all of the villains were black, but not all of the black characters were villains. There was a CIA agent who helped out. I think he died though. In this time round, they're going to China and Hong Kong and Thailand, and it looks nice. It's presented really well. I just think the story's just not quite up to scratch. It starts off really great. It's got a really good idea. It's a really good concept, but about 25 to 30 minutes in, it just starts to slow down, get a bit draggy. It's got some interesting, it does throw some interesting stuff, and I do like some of the stuff it sets up, like the half-floating boat in the Hong Kong harbour and Hip's nieces thingy. It sets those up well, but it's just feeding it off. I don't know, it's just strange. It's fun, it's a fun film, it's enjoyable, but I think the story just doesn't feel that up to scratch. That's it. I think that's the problem. And it actually, the second half of the first hour feels a bit like lots is going on, and it's getting it all out of the way. Also, when I'm quickly mentioning that first hour, there's a scene where Bond is kissing a dancer, and he goes down to kiss her belly because there's the bullet. Our bullet is in. She's wearing a bullet as a lucky charm on her belly button. It's the bullet that killed a fellow 00 agent who was killed by Scaramanga, and she's wearing it as a charm, and he wants to get it so he can analyse it. Then he's interrupted by 3 big blokes who were also watching the dancer dance at the club a few minutes before, along with Bond. But why did they attack him? Who are they? Are they other agents? Are they owners of the club? Is the fat bald guy the jealous boyfriend, and he's got his 2 thugs? Is he a gangster of some sort? Is he a gangster who's got this girl as his girl? Who are they? It's never explained. I think you could have just cut that fight. Just don't worry about that. Just have Bond kissing the belly button, puts it in his hand, slips into his pocket, kisses the dancer, and then they leave. And then she realises she's lost her charm, and Bond slips out with his comment, making his comment. And some of the comments Bond said, not all of them quite land, but quite a few of them are alright. What was the other thing? The other thing, there was some the fight school. If someone dies every time they have a fight, then they can't have that many students. And also, Hip, I think he drives off without Bond. I think he does, but does he do it knowingly? It's odd. So Bond has to go in a boat to go into a Thai town or city. Could be Bangkok. And he's chased by some of these students. That's where we get to see Sheriff Pepper again. And he gets some lines in, along with that bit with the boy being thrown into the water when he climbs onto Bond's boat after falling into the water off another passenger boat behind the Sheriff Pepper's one. And there's some pretty silly Sheriff Pepper moments around this point, along with a pretty fun move from Bond where he goes through the villain's boat very speedily, and Sheriff Pepper's reaction is actually quite fun. But every other time, he's a pretty insensitive character. Besides when he thinks he recognises Bond. In fact, speaking of Sheriff Pepper, like I said, I actually enjoy his moments for where he's with Bond. He gets a couple of funny moments, a couple of insensitive ones as well, but some funny ones like him trying to be a deputised. That bit when the car goes over the bridge, by the way, it's a fantastic stunt. It's really great and brilliantly shot, but the scene is ruined by a fucking slide whistle. You couldn't have done the Bond theme. And Sheriff Pepper's reaction to that, he falls out of his seat and back onto the back of the car, back seats. A bit silly. I mean, admittedly, the bit about him and Bond not doing that before was fun, but the sheriff falling out of his seat and into the back, silly. Very, very silly, and just sucks. It ruins a great scene. And the last hour, it's got some good moments. It's got that car chase and the stunt. It's got the finding of the Solex. Bond makes Goodnight hide in the cupboard whilst he has sex with Anders. Not Anya, she's in the next film. And then there's a bit beforehand where he's hinting that he wants it with Goodnight, and then she says, "No, thank you, I'm fine." And then she comes back a few minutes later saying, "Actually, I'm not strong enough to deny going to bed with you. Let's do it." Yeah, great role model here, kids. Great role model for... God. Thankfully, she does get her turn at the end of the film. Thank goodness. Puts that whole argument to bed. Not literally and metaphorically. And I will say this. The final 30 minutes... Yeah, the final 30 minutes are great with the stuff on the island, the funhouse stuff. Bond's interactions with Scaramanga, it's delicious. Scaramanga is a great character, and he has a great story to tell Bond when they first meet at the boxing match where they discover Scaramanga has killed Anders. And Bond gets the Solex that Goodnight then is given, and then she gets kidnapped. Yay. But they have a nice conversation there, and they have a nice conversation on the conversations on the island, and Christopher Lee is just amazing. He's probably one of the best acted Bond villains, and he just does a great job, and Scaramanga is a great villain. He has a great story in that scene in the one when he's first with Bond, and him just explaining his plan is actually pretty well really well performed by Lee. He's just really into it, and Moore's actually pretty good when he's listening. And the whole stuff with the funhouse is really fun as well, and got some great stuff from Christopher Lee and Roger Moore. The only thing is there was a little bit in between Bond in the scaffolding and him pretending to be a mannequin of himself that he saw earlier. I think there was something missing from there, because he was in the scaffolding, then Scaramanga is looking around, then we see Bond pretending to be his mannequin. I think there was a scene or two missing in between. That's it. It just feels like it's just... Wait, how did Bond get there? How much time's passed since we saw him in the scaffolding? And final couple of minutes after Scaramanga's death, Bond and Goodnight have to escape the exploding base after Goodnight throws a man into a pat of liquid nitrogen or something. And it starts to blow up, so... Yeah, Knick-Knack, the servant... also attempts one last assassination on Bond. You get this with Guy Hamilton films. The villain or the henchmen/men have at least one more bash at Bond after the climax. In Goldfinger, it was Goldfinger, so the villain himself, and some henchmen who were a scene fighting with them was cut, so we just presumed they died on the plane. In Diamonds Are Forever, it was Mr. Winter, Mr. Kidd trying one more time. In Live Let Die, it was Teehee, and also we saw Baron Samedi had made it out somehow after being eaten by Snake snakes, but he was still alive somehow. He didn't try to kill Bond, he just sat on the front of the train and laughed. And in this film, Nick Nat gets one more go. He also doesn't die. Bond just has him hung in a wicker basket until they get back to Hong Kong. Okay. Yeah, but all those other villains and henchmen died after the encounter with Bond, although how Tee died, but Jaws survived something similar in the next film. Yeah, Spy Who Loved Me is uncertain. As for Mr. Hinks, Inspector, it's yet to be seen whether because he doesn't come back after him being drugged out the train. That one I would believe he died from, because he had the thing around his neck. But whether he comes back in Bond 25 is yet to be seen. So he could be presumed dead, but as he didn't come back later in the film. But if he's back in the next film, maybe he's still alive. In which case, how did Tee just die from being thrown out of the window? Maybe he is still alive, or maybe another train came by and ran over him. We should have had a scene with that. But that's the last film. This is Golden Gun. Let's wrap this up, because I've been talking for a bit. Not too much of a bit, nearly 20 minutes. So, Man with Golden Gun, I find it has quite a few problems, but overall it's still pretty fun, enjoyable. I mean, thinking about it, it might not be one of my least favourites, but it might be certainly lower down on my list. I mean, we'll see how the rest of them go at this point. I mean, Roger Moore era, it's kind of mixed bag for me, and I think this is certainly at the moment, at time of recording, this is one of my lower films on the list, but by the time we get to the end of the franchise, or at least by the end of the Roger Moore era, it could possibly be a bit higher, but I don't know, it's certainly not going to be any higher than halfway. It's fun, it's enjoyable, but it's not really going to be one that I'd be rushing back to, and it's a bit of a disappointment after Live and Let Die, which was an amazing ride of an adventure. That was super good, but this one, it feels like it's a few steps down from the last time around, but it's still got some good moments. I also say the music for this film, for the most part, is really good. It's got a very good Eastern Asian feel to the music, like Yonah Twice had Japanese feel to it. So John Barry comes back for this film. He only had about 2 weeks to do the score, I think, and this includes the song "The Man with the Golden Gun" by Lulu. And admittedly, the lyrics are pretty poor. Although it won't be the worst lyrics in a Bond film. And I think that's going to be coming up in 2 films' time. And the tune, like A View to a Kill, it actually makes some strange lyrics that, on their own, presented like, huh? What do these mean? Huh? But to a tune, it's fun to listen to. Unlike Moonrakers, which I hinted at just a few seconds ago, saying how the lyrics aren't very good to that one, and the tune of that doesn't really make it that fun. Not even to a Diamonds Are Forever level, like Shirley Bassey's previous song that she did. Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever are great songs, but Moonraker, not so much. Sorry, and Bassey's done 3 opening title songs, and could have done others if they picked it. I've picked them, like one for Thunderball, one for Quantum of Solace, but ultimately, well, in the case of Quantum of Solace, I think they chose a worse case. I think on the day today, time of recording, I heard someone was going to be recording the Bond 25 theme. I can't remember who, but it didn't sound like Adele was coming back, so we'll see how that happens. She might, after all, but I'm not sure. I have to check it up. So, potential for another singer to come back for another film might not actually happen this time round. Anyways, back to Golden Gun. But the lyrics for Golden Gun, I think they're awkward, they're weird. I mean, they describe the character of the man with the golden gun and sort of what he does. But, yeah, it's a bit weird. But the tune is pretty fun. And you've got a pretty nice end song as well at the end, which also works with a slower paced version as well. So, yeah, the title sequence, on the other hand, is pretty poor. This is probably the second weakest title sequence of the first 9 films. Out of the first 9 films so far of the official series, this is probably the second weakest after Majesty's Secret Service. That one was just sound tightness and people running around and stock footage of the first 5 films, and was pretty lazy. This time it's just piece of the golden gun, some girls dancing around, bits of water, some Eastern Asian girls. It looks a bit dull. At least with Una Twice, Una Twice didn't use didn't use much stuff going on, but it was still simple. It was very simple, but it still looked pretty good and ended up being a pretty good final product. As did Diamonds Are Forever's, and Live and Let Dies was also really great. And I'm not the biggest fan of the Robert Brown-John title sequences, but at least those two had effort. Well, From Usher of Loves did, I'll say. Goldfinger's I might even say Goldfinger's is the weakest title sequence. But Majesty's is the ones that's just, Goldfinger, then Majesty's, then this one, then From Usher of Love, then probably Una Twice and Diamonds, then Live and Let Die. I think the best one's Dr. No's, and then I think Thunderball just behind that. Maurice Binder's is a very repetitive person when it comes to his title sequences, which are Dr. No and Thunderball to License to Kill. As opposed to Robert Brown-John's From Usher of Love and Goldfinger, Daniel Kleinman, who did GoldenEye to Christina Royale and Skyfall and Spectre, possibly back for the next one, and MK12, which didn't even have a clue what to do on Quantums. So anyway, Golden Guns, that's it from my review of this. I think it's about time, some of you might be thinking, and I'm going to be scoring this film a 7 out of 10.
Love is required whenever he's hired. Comes just before the kill. No one can catch him, no hitman can match him for his $1 million skill. One golden shot means another poor victim has come to a glittering end. For a price, he'll erase anyone, the man with a golden gun.
I don't think it's god awful. I think Thunderball was weaker. I think there's certainly at least one other weaker film coming up soon, by the way. There might be other ones that I might put it over in the near future. At the moment, I put it as my third least favourite of the entire series. Fourth least favourite, actually. There's another one that's coming up a bit further on that I find weaker than all of these. So at the moment, it's my fourth least favourite of the overall franchise and the second least favourite, Roger Moore. But this could potentially change over time. We'll see how it goes for the franchise. But you can tell why this film's not very popular. But it's not awful. So there you go. Anyway, so that's The Man with the Golden Gun. That was fun, but it was ultimately not great. It was good. Yeah, good enough anyway. I mean, got plenty of problems, no doubt, but it's still not awful. Next time we'll be looking at a film that everybody loves, but I think is overrated, but still good. The Spy Who Loved Me, and my disc is not in slot. There you go. Hope it doesn't get damaged. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this film, but I still like it. It's better than this film. This is still better than this, and the one that comes after, but I would probably not put it too high. I think it comes halfway on my Roger Moore ranking. So, about middle. It's in the middle. So, yeah. But anyway, next time, The Spy Who Loved Me. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Has come to a glittering end. If you want to get rid of someone, the man with a golden gun will get it done. He'll shoot anyone with his golden gun.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of the James Bond film, The Man with the Golden Gun. Start again. But not all of the black characters were villains. There was a CIA agent who helped out. There was a CIA, and just And so yeah, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I don't know if I already said that. No, it should be the other way around, shouldn't it? Let's go get him! Oh. Action. Yes. And you're that American, sheriff from America. An assassin called Francisco... Fuck. An assassin called Francisco Scaramanga. Or an assassin called Francisco Pistol Scaramanga. Or just one... An assassin called Francisco that brown one over there, do you see? Well, you can tell why we bring... Well, you can tell why we didn't bring him back for the third film. Well, you can tell why we...